Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kidlit Social. I'm Laura Backus, publisher of Children's Book Insider and co-owner of Write for Kids and Writing Blueprints. I have a new backdrop. No one's told me it's on backwards, so I'm assuming it looks right. So we have a really exciting offer this week. This month, the May issue of Children's Book Insider starts our 32nd year in publication. 32 years. Never missed an issue. I'm so proud of that. Anyway, we are having a 20 months for the price of 12 sale. You have this bit.ly link here, bit.ly/CBI-flash for flash sale. $49.95 for 20 months. Now, if you're already a subscriber and you want to take advantage of this, go ahead and get it. Drop us an email and we will add the 20 months to your current subscription. The reason this is so exciting, first of all, it's our 32nd anniversary, but also we have, for those of you new to us, a special above the slush pile code every month from either an editor or an agent. There's a full interview with them. They give us a special submission code where you fill out a special form that we provide, online form, and you get to jump over the slush pile. This is from an editor at Aladdin Books at Simon & Schuster. She normally does not take unsolicited submissions. For the month of May, she is from our subscribers. So I'm just really excited that we can offer you this really, really special opportunity on our 32nd anniversary. So if you want to take advantage of that and you're not a subscriber, bit.ly/CBI-flash. And again, if you're already a subscriber, go ahead and get the deal. It's only good for a week. And then we will add those 20 months to your current subscription. And if you're brand new to us and you want to get on our list and learn about all the cool stuff we're doing, this slide needs to be changed clearly. 32 years of children's writing knowledge. Go to writeforkids.org/ultimate-cheat sheet. You will get on our email list so that you'll be informed of everything that's going on, including our guests for the Kidlit Social. And you get a free ebook from us where we have compiled our best beginner advice from our 32 years in business. So now I get to celebrate. This is where we celebrate all the wonderful accomplishments of you. And I have 3 great ones this week. I have to move my control panel out of the way. So Arlene Marks' young adult novel, The Year Without a Summer, will be published in August this year and is now available for pre-order on Amazon. So 2 teens from different cultures meet in Albany, New York in this story that mixes romance with political and environmental commentary. Yay, Arlene. Arlene's a long-time subscriber to our newsletter, and I'm so happy, Arlene, that you have this book coming out, and I love the cover, and I think it sounds like a really, really amazing story. Mary, I will go back a slide in a second and give you that link again. Our friend Johnny Ray Moore, who's a published author of board books, picture books, and easy readers, writes that he was approached by a publisher to provide the voice in another author's audiobook. And he wanted you all to know this because he says, I tell aspiring writers all the time to be open to various opportunities pertaining to the business of publishing and writing. So this is a really cool opportunity. And I imagine, Johnny, you'll have to tell me if I'm right, but I imagine they heard one of your YouTube videos because Johnny puts out videos of him reading his books on YouTube, and he does indeed have a wonderful reading voice. So good luck with that, Johnny. That's an amazing opportunity for you. And Glenda Robertson tweeted that editor Nicole Frail from Sky Pony Press requested her picture book manuscript after she submitted her pitch in the Above the Slush Pile form from the January issue of CBI. Yay! I love it when the system works. So Glenda, you have to let us know how this turns out. And if you get a contract from this, we expect to be the first to know, the absolute first to know. Okay, I'm just going to back up 1 second because someone wanted this link again, bit.ly/CBI-flash. And if you are on our list, you'll get the replay link tomorrow. And we always put these links under the replay. Or you can go to our blog, writeforkids.org, and we have all the replays up there with all the links. Okay. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. So I want to hear your good news. Email me, laura@writeforkids.org, and put celebrate in the subject line, and we will feature your news on a future Kidlit social. And no news is too small. We want to celebrate every step of your journey with you. So, and I've had some great celebrates the last few weeks, so keep it up. I don't mind having 2 or 3 slides of celebrates. And I have a celebrate to share with you. So we are doing a webinar next week called How to Self-Edit Your Picture Book with Natasha Bebo, who is a wonderful writer and editor. And she did a webinar for us a while back on humor in picture books, humorous picture books, and it was wonderful. She is going to take you through the process of editing on the macro level and the micro level, all focused on picture books, how you can make your picture book shine before you send it into an editor. So this is a great workshop, and it will be live next Wednesday, or May 11th. I can't remember if that's Tuesday or Wednesday next week. I'm sorry. And it's during the day, 11 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Normally we do these things at night, but Natasha's in London, so we have to accommodate her schedule. But here's the link to reserve your spot, bit.ly/pb-edit. And if you can't make it live, you will get the recording, and there's a hefty handout that's going with it too, that has all sorts of tips and a checklist and everything on how to self-edit your picture book right from the mouth of an editor. So I hope to see you all there. It's going to be amazing. Okay, it's a Wednesday. Thank you. Oh, what was there? Was there the bit.ly link says 12 months of CBI for the price of 12. Well, yeah, we need to fix that. Thank you, Bitsy. It's 20 months for the price of 12. Thank you for catching that. Okay, a couple links of interest to you tonight. Speaking of editing, there's this great article called Editing Tips for Writers by Jessica Majewski from the When You Write blog, which explains the difference between editing and proofreading and provides a list of things to look for as you edit your work. So this is a good way to get you kind of warmed up for Natasha's webinar. Because I bet if you go through this list and you do these things on this checklist on your manuscript, and then you take Natasha's webinar, you're going to find more stuff, which is good because that's what you want to do. You want to go through all those layers of editing before you submit your work to an agent or editor. So anyway, whenyourwrite.com/editing tips for writers. There's the link on the screen, or you can just go to whenyourwrite.com and then search through the articles and you will find this. And then here's something I just wanted to let all you published authors know. The Penn Phyllis Naylor Grant for Children's and Young Adult Novelists is offered annually to a published author, so you have to have at least one book out of children's or young adult fiction to help them finish their current novel in progress. And so they are looking for people whose books have been well received, maybe well reviewed, but haven't yet developed a wide commercial audience. So you're kind of in that place where you're kind of mid-list author. You haven't quite broken into the big commercial, maybe success yet, but you do really good work. And this grant is for $5,000 to help you finish that book, which is awesome. So the applications close June 1st. So that's why I want to let you know about this now. Penn.org, a Penn Phyllis Naylor grant, or again, just go to penn.org and then look under awards and grants, and you will find the info and that application. Okay, now I get to welcome my guest. So Sarah Baker became the executive editor or executive director of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators on February 1st. She joined SCBWI staff in 2011 and was most recently the associate executive director. But her career in publishing began at Penguin Young Readers Group, where she designed children's books for 6 years. She is an illustrator. So I am really excited to hear her ideas and her vision for SCBWI moving forward, and how she is going to really help the children's book community thrive and grow. So Sarah, welcome to the Kidlit Social.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, sure. This is so exciting. I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And congratulations on your new job.
Thank you.
That's really exciting. And we were talking a little bit before this webinar that you don't have time to do anything else right now.
Nope.
So you're
Yeah,
illustrating.
I'm cool with that.
Yes, your illustrating's on hold for now, but
Now, yeah.
hopefully not forever. So that's good. So we have a lot of people who watch this either live or on the replay who are really, really brand new to the children's book industry and might not know what SCBWI is. So can you give us just a little brief overview of the organization, and do you have to be published to join? Can you be a brand new writer? Just walk us through that a little bit.
Sure. The SCBWI is, it's such an interesting story how it started, and what we do as an organization is really unique. So it started 50 years ago. Congratulations on 32 years.
Oh, thank you.
And about 50 years ago, the co-founders, Lynn Oliver and Stephen Musser, found themselves co-workers at a job where they were tasked with writing some children's books. And they didn't know how. So they said, oh, we'll just find a guild or an organization to help us figure this out. And there wasn't anything.
Right.
And it's such a beautiful kind of organic beginning. So they reached out to some people who said yes, and they put on a conference, and that's how it started. And then from there, there must have been a fantastic sense of community from the beginning, because people started volunteering, and the organization grew and grew and grew and evolved. And now we have almost 25,000 members.
Mm-hmm.
We have members all over the world. We have hundreds of high-level, fantastic volunteers who run their own regions all over the country and all over the world. I see someone saying hi who's a who's a past volunteer, and that feels wonderful. So that's just a little bit of background about how we got to where we are today. And what's really interesting about SCBWI is anyone can join. And we focus on education, on career, and also on community. Community is a huge part of the organization. And because anyone can join, whether you're published, pre-published, you have an agent, you don't have an agent, if you want to dip your toe in and just figure out a little bit about what children's books is about, or if you've published 20 books and you are just finding out about us now, you can join. And since our members are so varied, we provide member benefits for people at all stages of their career and journey in children's books. So lots of education, resources to help people understand the craft of children's books, writing, illustrating, translating, storytelling, and also navigating the industry, and connecting with other children's book creators and children's book professionals. That's the general gist of it. And I think a really important thing, especially for beginners or people who are a little newer to the industry, is sometimes it can be hard to take yourself seriously as a creator at first. And when you join SCBWI, it's a huge step in saying, I take my creative goals seriously. You know, I'm gonna put some resources towards this, and I'm gonna invest in this because I'm serious about it.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. You're sort of declaring to the world that you are an author or illustrator, and that's a really important first step.
Yeah,
when you're a beginner. Absolutely. Great. Now, over the last couple of years, the whole children's publishing industry has taken a hard look at itself and admitted that it has not been as inclusive as it kind of thought it was or claimed to be with regards to authors and illustrators of different races, religions, sexual orientations, abilities, having the equal opportunity to tell their stories. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned in an open letter to your members that SCBWI has also fallen short with representation in the organization. So what are your plans to remedy this situation?
Well, first of all, something that I've learned is how important it is to just be open and communicative about that. You know, that's been such a huge shift in our society in general recently. You know, people of a certain generation, myself included, were taught as children, like, don't really talk about, you can be, you know, you won't be racist if you just don't talk about it. So now we're talking about it, and it's so helpful so that we can really move forward. But I'm not here to preach about society in general. I'll talk about our organization. I'll try to keep it focused. So the approach we're taking is to view the entire organization through a lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And once you really embrace viewing the organization that way, you start finding meaningful changes that you can make everywhere in all aspects of the organization. So diversity was always important, like to the founders, Lynn Oliver and Steve Musser. And you can see over the years, you can see that especially in like conference faculties and the advisory council. So now looking at all aspects of the organization, there's a lot of ways that we can improve this, really change it. So one of the first things I'm doing as executive director is rebuilding the board of directors. And diversity is a really important factor. We want to make sure that as we rebuild the board of directors, it's diverse, it's inclusive, people from all different backgrounds, people from outside of the US, you know, to really make sure that it's not just more reflective of the membership itself, which needs to happen, but also the membership that we hope to have as we grow in diversity. Also, as we restructure the volunteer system, we want to make changes that encourage more diversity. And, you know, when we have the opportunity to grow our staff, which is pretty small, we do a lot for a small nonprofit staff, diversity comes into play there as well. And then it's also really interesting how diversity and inclusion can come into play in less obvious ways, but also really important. So like years and years ago, it became clear we need to put into place awards and grants that where there are some awards and grants devoted to you know, people from diverse backgrounds. and non-dominant cultures. Now we're realizing we need to make sure that the judges are just as diverse, and that the first readers, if that is relevant, are just as diverse. And then back to all areas of leadership within the organization, that the people coming up with what the awards and grants are also really diverse. It's like a feedback loop. Also going beyond the normal schools, communities that we would do outreach to when we're promoting the organization, when we're spreading the word about scholarships and awards and grants, going beyond, maybe like the top 5, well-known graduate programs, really pushing all those boundaries. So I think the more we put it into effect, I think it'll then just kind of multiply throughout the organization. It's really exciting to think about what kind of an impact that could have in children's books in general. So it's
Absolutely.
really exciting.
It is, and those are some really, really great ideas, and I'm really happy to hear that you have all these plans in place. I think it's going to be wonderful. Now, does this diversity and this inclusiveness extend to self-published authors? Have you thought about putting a self-published author on the board?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So we've definitely been intentionally expanding what we provide for self-published members. And it also is, it's kind of diversity, equity, and inclusion adjacent in different ways. Inclusiveness, we want to include everyone, whether they're publishing traditionally or self-publishing. But also, there's a lot of diversity in like self-publishing demographics. So I'll try to stay focused. I can go on and on, but there's a lot of great ways that we're trying to expand what we provide in terms of self-publishing. And so, yeah, we would definitely consider having someone on the board, the advisory council, leadership that do self-publishing. A lot of our members are self-publishing, and we need our organizational leadership to reflect what our membership is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's great. When I first joined SCBWI back in the late 80s, so it's been a long time, and back then self-published authors were pretty much not even acknowledged, but I understand because it wasn't really a respective path to publication the way it is now. So I've had some self-publishing friends of mine ask if, for example, you have that great publisher resource that you do every year that you update. Would you consider doing some sort of guide for self-published authors that gets updated every year, that lists printers, copy editors, cover designers, things like that?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. It's a short answer, but I'll give you a longer answer too.
Okay.
So I think it took a while, but I think SCBWI has come a far way in really kind of figuring out what our role is in terms of self-publishing. And like what it really comes down to is no matter how our members are publishing their books, we want to make sure that if you're an SCBWI member, you have the best resources available to you. You have the most up-to-date information, you have insights that you can gain, and important connections that you can make. And so I think just in the past couple of years, we've come a really far way in providing that for our members that want to focus on self-publishing. And this year, just recently, just in the past month, I think, we came out with our first version ever, our first issue of our essential guide to self-publishing.
Yes, I saw that. That's great.
So that's big and new, but it's our first year. It was a huge step for us. And from now on, we can expand on that. So definitely the plans are to keep expanding what we provide for self-publishing members. and especially with that resource as well. So we're excited for members who are knowledgeable about self-publishing or just really interested to download that new guide, and then we're going to reach out for feedback and definitely listen to our members about what else they want in terms of programming, but also in terms of, you know, the resources themselves.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so you talked about volunteers, and this organization really runs on its volunteers. Absolutely. I actually, the Rocky Mountain chapter was one of the first chapters to be formed the same year as National, and I ran their 25th anniversary conference, which would be over 25 years ago now. I remember because I was pregnant. And I remember thinking this might not have been the best choice for me to be doing right now, but it was great.
Probably wound up with very swollen feet that day.
I did, yes.
I've worked at conferences while pregnant. It's no joke.
Yes, but it was wonderful. And but yeah, just amazing volunteers in this organization, tremendous people who make it run. So you had said you want to update the volunteer structures to the organization. Can you give us a little more information about what that means?
Yeah, I'll mostly talk about our goals. And, you know, like you said, volunteers are a huge part of the organization. They've shaped what SCBWI is. People started volunteering, for example, Jane Yolen. I'm pretty sure she was the first or one of the first volunteers to raise a hand. And I think that's why there's such a strong sense of community in the organization because of volunteerism. It's baked into the organization, so it will always, volunteerism will always be part of the organization. And it's been the volunteer system or structure, all the procedures in place and the way it all works, it's really grown pretty organically for the past 50 years. You know, leadership took an approach trying to really allow volunteers, you know, a good amount of freedom to innovate. And the volunteers have done so much innovation. I could just come back and just talk about that another time. But it's been 50 years and it's been growing and evolving. We're bigger than we've ever been. So it just makes sense that at this point we stand back kind of with fresh eyes and a big overall view and figure out how do we make this work better than it does now even, and take it into the future. And some of the goals are to make, you know, the leadership of SCBWI more diverse in general. So that totally applies to the leadership in the volunteer system as well, in the regions, and to making sure that volunteering for SCBWI is really accessible. So, you know, and we haven't figured out all the different ways that we can do that. We have a lot of ideas, but the goal there is that if you're really passionate about children's books and you're passionate about volunteering, that you can volunteer for SCBWI, that it's manageable. We want to help give the volunteers more training and support. We've started on that path, but we have a long way to go. Helping them in areas of DEI, in event planning, in finance, you know, in maybe standardizing certain things so that individual regions, volunteer chapters aren't recreating the wheel. You know, things that will make their volunteer work easier and run smoother. Also, a big new challenge is to helping keep that sense of community among the volunteers. And COVID's, you know, changed the way people travel and you know, spend time together. So that's something we'll be working on too. And it's a huge project. It can feel daunting, but the way we're looking at it is there's going to be parts of changing the volunteer system to improve it that take a year, you know, but there will be some things that can be accomplished quicker. And the really, really, really important thing about making changes to the volunteer system, I think, is to be collaborative about it, is to actually listen to the volunteers and you know, get their feedback and their input as we make these changes.
Great. I'm going to do a little glasses change here so I can actually read my chat box as it's going by. Without giving away information that you're not allowed to talk about as far as budgets and stuff go, there, you know, when people join SCBWI, they pay a membership. Does a big chunk of that go to their regional chapter? How are the regional chapters funded, or do they have to sort of fund themselves through conferences and things like that?
Right now, the way it works is, you know, the member pays their dues. It's 95 when they join and then 80 when they renew. I think even less than that when they renew, you know, multiple years at a time. Anyway, so, and the money goes into SCBWI HQ. And we provide some overall kind of scaffolding that the regions use, like our database and our website, and you know, the way we organize everyone and bring everyone together. But currently, the way the volunteer, you know, the regions run is almost like small businesses, where they have their own accounting and they raise money with their own events. So, you know, I can't give answers about the future of that because I can't talk about what I don't know. And I don't know how things are gonna, you know, wind up as we go into this big, you know, kind of change or overhaul, you know, with everyone's input. But finance is a big part of the conversation.
Okay, thank you. So we're all reading in industry publications that editors are more overworked than ever, and there's a lot of reasons for this. Consolidations, layoffs, the pandemic, but also we're hearing more and more about sort of mid-level editors leaving the industry because there's nowhere for them to move up. They're kind of trapped in this mid-level position for years and years at a time. So the result of this is the editors who are still there have more than ever to do. And this is making response times to manuscripts take even longer. Agents are even having trouble getting answers from editors. So how are you preparing your members for this? You know, not only the longer response times, the more sort of a arduous submission process, but their manuscripts have to be really, really polished when they submit them. Way more than they were back in the 80s when I started in this business. So are you focusing a lot on sort of preparing authors for this?
Such a great question. So along with us, you know, recognizing these changes that you're describing in the industry, and a lot of the people on the staff and in leadership roles are experiencing that too as creators, we're also hearing a lot of feedback from our members that they want more focus on craft. And really seeking that feedback from members is also, you know, something that we're really leaning into at this point. And so that's been really interesting to hear from our members that they want more focus on craft, which makes sense, you know, like what you just said. It takes more polishing. You have to have that manuscript or that book dummy, that portfolio at a really high level if you want to have a really good chance. So as we're programming our, you know, digital workshops that we provide a few times a year free for members, and our programming for our conferences, we're definitely devoting a lot to craft to help with that. And, you know, we're also starting to try to be really creative about the kind of opportunities that we're able to provide between future in-person conferences and virtual events, and trying to be really creative about meeting industry professionals where they are. Because things that worked great even 5 years ago don't necessarily work well anymore, but those industry people are still hungry for great talent.
Yes, they are. They are. And I have great compassion for editors right now who are so overworked. But yes, they say we still want to find those wonderful, wonderful submissions and bring those books to the world.
Yeah.
So, okay, great. Well, you know, SCBWI, it's been around for so long. It's so respected in the industry, and it has such a huge voice. And I'm wondering if you have thought about using that voice to advocate for authors and illustrators on things like better contract terms, or getting publishers to actually give authors and illustrators marketing training so that they can go out and promote their books more effectively. Maybe talking about it would be really nice to get a response on submissions, even if it's a really quick form email and not just no news in 12 months means no, you know, just things like that. Is this something SCBWI might ever step into?
Anything's possible. Never say never. At this point, really, you know, what our mission is to help our members navigate the industry. And in terms of our huge voice, I think that's in terms of the industry, that's helping industry members connect with talent and discover great talent. I honestly, and this is also based on my experience as a, you know, children's book designer at Penguin, I'm not sure how much influence as a single organization we really have over the kinds of decisions that you're talking about, like contract terms. I mean, that's not even really coming from editors, you know, that's coming from way, way further up. So one thing we have to do as a nonprofit is make sure that we're serving our members the best we possibly can, really according to the mission. When we stray too far from the mission, it kind of waters down what we're able to do. That said, if there's an opportunity where we can be advocates in that way, beyond, you know, helping our members navigate the industry, I think probably that would come from partnering and teaming up and strengthening our voice along with, you know, other great organizations that are doing really great work, that are even more focused in advocacy,
right,
and kind of policy. So it's not that we're not interested, but it is a little bit outside of the scope of our, you know, our power, you know.
Sure. Do you have a sense of the demographics of your membership as far as authors, illustrators, publishing professionals? Because I know a lot of editors and agents are also members of SCBWI. So do you have any idea of the breakdown, or have you ever sort of run those numbers?
There's definitely, I'm going to be really vague right now because I don't have the numbers in front of me. So that's a dangerous territory.
Sure. And I didn't prepare you for this question either.
Okay.
So
I could have pulled an export from our database, but I think just very generally speaking, the membership is, you know, so we have close to 25,000 members. The majority of members are, there's more writers than illustrators. Although that number has shifted definitely over the past 10 years, especially as, you know, a lot of illustrators have joined, and then there's a lot more illustrator authors than there ever were before. We also have translators, and that's a small portion of the membership, but it's also grown significantly just in the past couple of years. Let's see, I think more of the 25,000 members are pre-published than published. I'm being pretty vague, like just more or less, because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think that gives, you know, a general idea. And we are approaching, you know, as we start to try to really reach out to the membership for feedback more, we're also, you know, interested in getting just better demographics from about our membership in general. It's hard to measure any kind of like progress or growth, whatever your goals are, if you don't have the data to measure them with. But right now, when you join and when you're a member, you do have a member profile. For those watching who are unfamiliar with the, what membership looks like, you have a member profile and you do say whether you're a writer, an illustrator, both, a translator. If you're published, you can enter your book into your profile, things like that.
Great. Well, thank you for that. I know I put you on the spot there, but I was just very curious myself as to sort of what the organization looks like. So we're going to take some questions in a second, but I wanted to ask you, you've been in the industry for a while and you've got this big picture view. Give us your best advice for authors and illustrators, first of all, who are just starting out, since that seems to be, you know, the big chunkier membership, as well as those who are published but might need a little inspiration or, you know, something to keep going. What would be your best advice?
Whew, I have so much advice, but I would say for people just starting out, how do I put this in a really positive way? And this is something that we're trying to get better at as an organization also, to have realistic expectations, to know that children's book creating is not easy. It's it's really hard work. And people who are successful at it, they do a lot of research. Research can come into play with your artwork itself, your writing, and also the industry. So, and also, I'm going to try not to go on and on and on with suggestions for everyone, but try not to compare your journey. Your journey in children's book publishing is individual. And for some people, it takes, you know, a very long time, many years to get to the point where you're ready to query agents. And for other people, it kind of happens all at once, you know, but one isn't better than the other. Everyone has their own lives going on, and you have to figure out, you know, navigate it and don't compare yourself to other people. Yeah, I would say for beginners, that's really important.
Yeah, and that's excellent advice.
And for seasoned people, you know, we have a lot of published members, and we often try to go to our own members for things like conference faculty, and I feel like I've personally learned so much from our members, and a huge thing that I feel like I've really taken in lately, especially from our well-published members, is never stop kind of growing and learning. Never stop experimenting, figuring out your writing style, your art style, who you are as a creator. It can't end, you know, it can't stall out when you have a few books out. You have to keep pushing and growing. Otherwise, you know, things will stall, things will feel stale. And also to never stop being vulnerable. You know, when you're vulnerable and you get outside of your comfort zone and you show someone a sketch that's not really like what you're known for as a published illustrator, say, as an example, that's when kind of magic happens. And then your career takes on a whole new life, you know? So never stop learning and never stop kind of experimenting as a creator.
Great. Excellent. I'm going to get to a few questions. Did you have anything you wanted to tell us about upcoming, any announcements you want to make, anything like that as far as SCBWI?
Let's see. Right now we have our digital workshops going on, which is really fun. They are weekly workshops that are virtual, that are free for members. We have the summer conference coming up, which will be totally virtual. That's August 5th through 7th. And in winter 2023, we'll have our first in-person conference put on by headquarters it's been a long time. And there will also be a virtual component. And you can look at our site for more announcements about both of those.
Terrific.
And I would love for everyone to check out our recommended reading list. It's a great showcase of member books monthly. And whether or not you're a member, you can check out our podcast, which is fantastic. And you can find it on most podcast apps like Apple. And they're really in-depth interviews with authors, illustrators, translators, publishing professionals, and it's super insightful and interesting.
Terrific. That sounds awesome. Well, this segues great into my first question from Beth, who is in Saskatchewan, and she says she's been very grateful for all the online events that SCBWI has put on the last few years, and she's wondering if you will continue to have that online component because it's hard for her to get to things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So absolutely, yes. It's been, I mean, the pandemic has been hard in so many ways, but it did lead us to providing a lot more virtual content, and that's been a huge, amazing discovery for us. That it makes membership benefits. It makes SCBWI programming so much more accessible for people all over the world. And the format where you put it on live, like you're doing, and then leave it up for a month, people can come to it on their own time, that they're not hampered by budget, by schedule, by travel. So yes, absolutely, we're continuing that.
Yeah, great, great. Rosie says, who would be the person of contact if we have suggestions or concerns about diversity? As a marginalized author myself, I did try to email and follow up with a concern, but never heard back from anyone. So is there a particular person of contact, or will there be for members' concerns specifically about diversity?
First of all, I'm sorry that you reached out and didn't get a response. It's something that we're really trying to improve. In general, with just getting back to members, but especially around this issue. So currently, you should write to positivechange@scbwi.org. And that's an email account that's read by myself and two other, executive level staff members. And as time goes on, and I kind of get my footing under me as executive director, we definitely are looking into, adding to the staff in terms of, making sure that there's, outreach and response, is all functioning well. But we have heard, that's not the first time that I've heard that people want, more and faster responses. So that's something we care about a lot, and we're trying to improve. So that's a good email address to go to.
Great, great. Thank you for that. Um, we have an anonymous question here. Would SCBWI consider providing a list of library contacts for independent authors to do direct marketing to their acquisitions? Do you do a lot of work with libraries, like at conferences? And I mean, this is kind of a big issue. It's about getting distribution as a self-published author into libraries. That's a very specific sort of task that self-published authors have to do. Would this be the kind of thing that you might present at a conference one year, or you know, expand in your guide for self-published authors, how to go about finding out how to get into libraries?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea for an article that's part of the new guide, for conference programming. So we love, I love the question, because that gives us ideas to, you know, to try to work on, to provide for the members. And like at the summer conference, we have a whole self-publishing track. The schedule hasn't been announced yet, so you know, it's coming very soon. We're finalizing the faculty right now, but we're going to have a self-publishing devoted track with Jane Friedman, Sylvia Acevedo, to try to give members insights.
Great.
Like that.
Terrific. Great. Will SCBWI be bringing back the quarterly bulletin?
So we're working hard on revamping the bulletin, and we're sorry for the delay there. We're not done with the bulletin, but we're trying to bring new life to it. The bulletin as a publication started when the organization started, so it's been going on for around 50 years. And as we've added new publications like Insight, which comes out monthly and is, you know, an e-publication, we've had to take a step back and look at, you know, now that we have that going into people's inboxes, how can we make the bulletin, you know, really relevant in its own right? So the bulletin's coming back out soon, but with kind of a fresh take.
Great, great. And will it be electronic, do you think, or will it be mailed to people? I remember the old days when it came in the mail.
It's pretty recent, even that it still came in the mail. For the time being, I'd say that we're leaning towards an e-publication, or even going into maybe whole new format like video.
Oh, interesting.
And again, I'll never say never about a printed version, but print is costly. And we also have to keep in mind that we have members all over the world.
Yes.
And, you know, mailing something out, you know, when our headquarters are stationed in the US, and mailing things out to the US is a whole different, you know, ball game from mailing things out at the same speed and the same quality all over the world. So that's a big consideration too.
Right. Yeah. Well, and my newsletter used to be paper and we switched to electronic about, I don't know, 8 years ago, something like that. The cost was a big factor. We didn't want to raise our prices. And I love the fact that now I'm not limited by page length. I can go as long as I want, and it doesn't matter. So, so that's really nice.
Yeah, and we want to be able to take advantage of things like that too. For the longest time, I was designing and art directing the bulletin, and had to require all the artwork that's submitted, you know, by the members to be, you know, grayscale, black and white. You know, these are children's book illustrators.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity for some beautiful color. So
absolutely. Absolutely. Several people have asked, will the winter conference be in New York? That's where it always was.
Yeah,
Yes.
the 2023 Winter Conference will be both in person in New York, and there will be a virtual component.
Great.
Yeah.
Um, this question, this is interesting. Reed says, I'm wondering if you would consider a volunteer type mentorship program, pair experienced people from the industry with junior, less experience. I assume you need Reed authors mentoring more beginner authors, illustrators mentoring illustrators. Is there a mentorship program in SCBWI already?
Currently, the regions do a lot of
Okay.
mentorship programs,
Okay.
and a lot of them do a fantastic job. And I'm not going to be able to remember the exact spot on our website, like the URL, but I know that there's a place on the site that kind of, has information about all different mentorships. And there's also some information about that in the Essential Guide to Publishing for children. Mentorship's super important. And yeah, we're really, really proud of the mentorships that a lot of the regions are providing. And now at this point, some of them remain, very local and geographical. Other regions have expanded things because, along with COVID and doing things virtually, the kind of boundaries of regions in some ways are, have disappeared. So a lot of the programming in general put on by one region or another is actually available to SCBWI members in general. That isn't specific to mentorship, but that's a great thing to know about SCBWI membership, is that besides what HQ puts on that's available to all members, a lot of fantastic regional programming is available to all members.
Right. Now, if someone, I just saw this go by the chat box, if their region doesn't offer a specific program they would like to participate in, are they allowed to join a different region with their membership?
Yeah, I mean, we have done that in the past. Sometimes it's for a reason like someone spends half the year in one area, half the year in another, or they're technically part of one region geographically, but they're actually a drive closer to a town that's, part of, and it's as simple as writing or calling the main office, and we can change that in the database. And besides changing in your data, in our database, which region you're associated with, other things you can do are, just get in touch with the other region. They'll probably happily add you to their mailing list and everything like that. And also, maybe you want to introduce the idea to your own region and bring it up with those, the volunteers there. So yeah, we're really not very interested in creating, separation between the regions. Like if you're, I used to say this all the time, and now it's less relevant in, the pandemic times, but like if you're going on vacation somewhere, say Paris, you can just go to the site and see what's going on in the SCBWI Paris region, and we don't put limits on who can attend what.
Yeah, that's great. So, and I did have a question here about Quentis, who lives in South Africa. Quentis is a South African who lives in Taiwan. Would love to join SCBWI. Do you know if there is a region, a chapter in either Taiwan or Asia, or would you recommend joining one based in another country? So again, this is a question you could probably answer for yourself by going to the website and seeing the list of all the chapters all around the world.
Yes,
correct.
That's absolutely true. I suggest anyone who's interested, who hasn't looked at the site yet, to go to scbwi.org. And there's a fantastic listing of of all of the regions. And for if you don't see your specific area covered, you can join no matter what. And there's actually like a region devoted to anyone, any member in the world who isn't geographically, part of a current region. So if you fall in between, if you're in an area where there isn't one, you're still going to get outreach. You're still going to have contacts. You're still going to get, connections with fantastic people and all the same resources.
Okay, terrific. I've had a couple questions about PAL designation, P-A-L. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, PAL stands for published and listed. And it means that you've published a book and that the publisher of your book is on our list of vetted traditional publishers. So PAL doesn't just mean you're a published member. It means that you're published traditionally. And you can also be designated as published, like in our database, so that you'll get, outreach that applies to, people who are published versus what we say pre-published, which I think, it's more inclusive and encouraging than just not published.
Sure.
So yeah, published and listed. And that list, so like if you're a member and you've got a book coming out, you can go into your member profile and add that book, no matter if it's self-published or published with a publisher that's not currently on that list or a publisher that's on that list. And if you feel that the publisher you're working with belongs on that list, there's a process there that's described there so that you can reach out and say, here's the information. And then we have someone in the organization who does research into each, query that happens and sees if there's specific criteria, mostly about money flowing from the publisher to the creator.
Okay. So is that why hybrid publishers aren't listed on that list? That a lot of indie authors might use a hybrid publisher? Is it because you have that very specific designation of the money has to flow a certain way and etc.?
It's that criteria. It's how it fits into that criteria. And pretty much like anything, the industry is evolving, and the way our policies can evolve when they need to is through feedback from the members. So, and I mentioned this specifically in terms of hybrid publishing, because like I was saying about self-publishing, it's changing. It's changed so quickly. And something that's particularly difficult there in terms of our resources that we provide our members is making sure that things are properly vetted. So we need feedback from the members, and then we have criteria that we work with, and then we have the advisory council advising on how to form that criteria. But the need for change, if that happens, in any area of the organization, it's always up for review. But we try to have specific criteria in general so that it's not about something subjective.
Sure. Okay. And then if you are, what is the line of pre-published? Is, say you have a book that's under contract but hasn't come out yet, to actually list yourself as published or to apply for PAL designation, does your book actually have to be out on the shelf?
No, you need, I think you need to have an ISBN.
Okay.
So yes, I mean, sometimes at this point, your book should be out, and then you find out that it's
I know.
Be printed until 6 months later than you thought. So yeah, there's a little bit of leeway there.
Mhm.
And then it also depends on, like, something that I'm specifically have always been involved with since I started is the Don Freeman grant. And we, award a pre-published winner and a published winner. And so a huge question we get is, well, I have a book coming out, does that make me published or pre-published? Well, in that situation, in terms of judging that award or that grant, it's more
Mhm.
about what the member's level of experience is. Have you had the experience of working with an editorial team from start to finish
Mhm.
with your book? So it's just more about kind of being on the same page in terms of judging criteria,
Mhm.
But yeah,
Mhm.
in terms of the website and your member profile, I think once you have all the relevant information, you can enter it into your profile.
Okay, terrific. And so for people who have suggestions for publishers to be added to PAL, or
Mhm.
maybe think some publishers should be taken off because they've either had a really bad experience with them or whatever, is there a particular email they should send this information to?
Yeah, it's all up on the site. I'm
Okay.
probably not going to remember at this moment uh, that information. I think, Patricia Wiles at scbwi.org
Mhm.
does a lot of that vetting. So that's a great person to reach out to. But besides that, it is all there.
It's on the website.
With,
Okay,
yeah.
great,
Oh,
great.
and I think my colleague Tammy Brown is probably helping out with URLs in the chat. Thank you, Tammy.
Oh, yay, Tammy. Thank you. That's great. I'm going to let you go in a second because we've already kept you over the hour. I so appreciate all your time tonight. I just wanted to touch very quickly on people who write for magazines.
Uh-huh.
How does SCBWI serve those members? And do you count magazine publications as, can you become a PAL member if you're published in Highlights or a reputable magazine?
Oh, I don't want to get this wrong. I feel like, yeah, I have to check the website right now in terms of the PAL designation. I
Yeah.
know that you can list in your member profile magazine publications and be counted like as full or published.
Mhm.
I'm not going to answer about the PAL question because I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay.
But that information is there. But magazines are a brilliant way of, of getting more work, getting more experience, getting a
Mhm.
different type of work, reaching a new audience. It's just such a fantastic, um, you know, uh, way to publish besides books. And
Mhm.
it's great for our illustrator members, our writer members. I read a lot of children's magazines with my own kids, and I get such a thrill when I recognize one of our members in there.
Mhm.
We have an award called the Magazine Merit Award, which has been going on for a really long time. And we're actually looking into revamping the magazine listing in
Mhm.
our publishing guide. Because there's a lot of new magazines
Mhm.
out there that deserve some recognition.
Mhm.
So yeah, we think magazine publishing is an excellent thing to do.
Mhm. Great. Awesome. Well, I'm sure we could be here all night with you answering questions, but I don't want to do that to you. So
Everyone had great questions,
we
and
did
thank
have
you
great
so
questions.
much for inviting me. This was really fun.
Yes. Yes. And I did just real quick, a few people asked how they can volunteer. Obviously, if you become a member and then you would contact your local chapter,
Mhm.
correct? That would be the best. And the regional advisor, that would be, or a lot of local chapters have their own websites, so you could see what's coming up.
And you can find all of those websites within scbwi.org. They're all
Mhm.
there.
Okay.
So absolutely, becoming a member is, the first step. And then as soon as you're a member, definitely look at your regional website, see what's going on, reach out to the people that are running that region, they'll welcome you with open arms, and you'll immediately start finding out what's going on in person, virtually, all sorts of great opportunities, wonderful people.
Great. All right. Well, good luck, Sarah. And it'd be great if you could come back like a year from now and give us an update on all the great plans you have, how much progress you've made, new ideas you have moving forward. We would love to hear back from you.
I would absolutely love that. Thank you so
Great.
much. And thanks to everyone in the audience. It was great to kind of meet you all, and I really am honored to be invited. It was fabulous.
Terrific. All right. Well, thank you all for being here tonight, and we will see you next time. Have a good evening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.